Hi guys and welcome to Trustzone.com. This is Mohit Soni. We are doing another bike comparison today, and what we have is the comparisons of comparisons. This is the TVS Apache RTR 310. We've been comparing it with the 390 with the fed version, but the naked version is finally here after asking for it for a really long time. It's been 10 years in the making, this bike, but in after the bikes came in, this is finally when we are getting the TVS naked version of this. It is based on the BMW G310R, of course, and we have the brand new KTM Duke 390, the 2024 version, that has stolen our hearts and our minds and our money as well in certain areas. This is a bike that has again changed the industry entirely, and this TVS Apache RTR 310 also wants to do so. So let's quickly jump into what is on offer and what not. Let's begin with the design at the front, where you can see this is a radical approach, just like the KTM. You've got a very awkward looking design for the headlamp. Of course, it's coming together quite well. It's got its inspiration from the international superbike segment, such as the Ducati Street Fighter E4 and the Kawasaki Z1000 and all of that. But it's got its own distinct look. That is for sure. It is not a knockoff. That is for sure. The side profile looks really nice. It is similar to a certain extent, but what you see here is brand new. What you see here is this new engine cover, this tank extension, and this tank is also very similar, but it's just the naked design that is here which makes this bike look new. The subframe is pretty much the same. You get these new grab rails, of course, and at the back the tail lamps are also new. At the side, the exhaust is very similar. You can identify it anywhere now. This is part of the 310 range at BMW and TVS both. You've got the monoshock over here, the hyper spec white painted chassis is here. You've got this really nice Fury yellow color which has a quick shifter on it, and really high quality motorcycle, really good in terms of quality. Nothing is scratchy, nothing feels bad. Everything is put together quite well. It feels like it's made for a baby, because wherever you put your hands, it will not cut you off. It will not give you any sort of paper cuts at all. So that is the level. See, if I'm just roaming my hand around, nothing's really happening. So that's the level of quality you expect from an international manufacturer, and it's being delivered here. Even the alloy wheel color I really like. It is quite nice. Apart from that, what you get here is alloy wheels at the back which are yellow, which are very early 2000 in terms of how this is being perceived by you. This might look new to you, but not to me, because I'm old. I've seen this sort of pattern where one alloy wheel is different to the other in terms of color. It is an old school way. I'm happy that it's back, not a problem. But let's jump to the orange colored KTM Duke 390. Spectacular to look at. Already the road test is live. You know how this bike looks like. It looks fantastic. It's got its own unique front end design we've never seen before. You've got this really nice look. It looks very naked at the front here. The quality and fit finish and levels are spectacularly well done. There's hardly any room for pointing out anything apart from one or two. That's about it. But it's coming together really well. But very specifically at the side, on both sides, here and here, you don't see much of wiring and clutter. All of it has been put together quite well. The monoshock is now horizontal, so that gives KTM space to reroute and get the underbelly exhaust back again, and space to keep the cat litter stuff as well. So one small decision makes the entire chassis go different. But at the same time, we know this chassis is going to be used for many other things. Yes, the adventure version will come on this, and it will be more adventure-ish. We'll see whenever that happens in early 25. But coming to the instrument cluster, I've already given you a review. I'm just going to go through. Is excellent colors, font, layout, graphics. Everything works quite well. The switch gear is supremely intuitive. You've got bike info, trip info, speed controls, quick shifter, shift light, quick selector, connectivity options, traction control, ABS, quick shifter like I mentioned earlier, and it's got cruise control as well. The switch gear is phenomenal. And last but not the least, rebound and preload adjustability on both sides of the suspension make it fantastic. That's where it stands out against the TVS Apache RTR 310, and it's not adjustable on the Apache. So, but both these bikes get connectivity features. They have their own app. It's called the SmartX Connect over there. Here it's quite simply called the KTM Connect app, and you can go through a lot of features. I'll do a separate video on it explaining you what they're all about. All LED lights on both these motorcycles. And before we start riding, let me tell you the price comparison. This is at the top end, costing you at 3.15 lakh rupees on road with the quick shifter, Fury yellow color, and all of that. Even with the black color, you can get a quick shifter, which is going to be 3,09,000. The base variant is 2.19. You get only one variant with the KTM though, 3.75 lakh rupees on road. So much more on offer. including adjustable suspension, which is both these bikes have cruise control, both these bikes have track modes, both these bikes have a lot of features. The one or two more features that you get with this is, of course, adjustable suspension, ventilated seats, a segment first, is visible on the Apache, but it comes at a very high cost. It reaches almost can reach almost up to 40,000 rupees when it comes to the dynamic and the pro kits, which will also give you all of that. And ventilated seat is the only feature that you will not find on the KTM. Everything else is available on the Apache as well, but as an option. With the KTM, everything is standard and one variant. But most importantly, how are they like to ride? We've been riding them for a really long time. Let's find out how they ride. So finally, we have ridden the KTM Duke 390 and TVS Apache RTR 310 extensively. And what do we think of these motorcycles after riding them back to back? Well, one thing is clear, that the KTM is bigger in every single number. The capacity, the horsepower, the torque, the 0 to 100 is under 5.5 seconds. The top speed is around 170, and it's got a fuel efficiency, which is the only lower part, at around 25 kilometers per liter. While the Apache is lower on numbers, but the fuel efficiency numbers are higher at 29 kilometers per liter. 0 to 100 is also done around 6.5 seconds. The top speed is around 160 kilometers an hour, and it makes the 34 PS and 28 Newton meters. So the extra change that has been done to it, I told you in my standalone review, does make a lot of sense and does translate to better low end and mid range torque over the RR 310 that was earlier there. And the sound exhaust note has also become slightly better, which was also something that critics pointed out, and we also pointed out in our review as well. At the same time, the TVS Apache RTR 310 does feel playful, light on its feet, and the acceleration is good enough. But the low end still isn't as good as the new KTM, and the mid range is equally good enough in terms of feel, and the top end isn't that great. So it continues to be pretty similar to the RTR 310, but it's the 310's low end improvement, and the same top end, which is slightly weak, continues to be seen in the RTR 310. Of course, it's not a fair motorcycle, so top speed has taken a hit as well, but at the same time, the top end thrust that you get in the KTM Duke 390 in the new generation is spectacularly brilliant and way too much, because the low end has improved, the mid range is drastic as before, and the top end push is just extremely high, and that's what makes the KTM really fun to ride in the engine department. The clutch is light on both these bikes, the quick shifter works on both these bikes really well, and the gearbox is also smooth enough on the KTM, but it has gotten better on the Apache, but it is still not as good as the KTM. Secondly, in terms of brakes, well, I think both bikes have good brakes, but the KTM just feels better in terms of braking as well, because the pads, the disc, and everything just works together. The feel is right, the power feels much more better. It stops with much more speed and authority. In the way it accelerates is the way it stops. The Apache, of course, is up to the mark. There is no performance braking issues in the bike, but it's just that it doesn't feel as immediate as the KTM. In terms of handling, well, the Apache still feels light on its feet, feels very playful and nimble and agile, and it feels light on its feet, and that's what gives it that playful character that makes you like you're dancing with the motorcycle. With the KTM though, it feels heavier in comparison, but it feels much more authoritative and feels agile and feels nimble, but at the same time it feels much more stable than the Apache because of that reason. While it is as agile and as nimble as the KTM in the corners and while in the city, it just the Apache doesn't feel as stable as the KTM, because it has that weightage to it, and despite both these motorcycles weigh around the same number, those numbers don't mean anymore, because it's the suspension that makes a world of a difference, and it's the KTM that feels much more stable in the corners, on straight roads and everything else. And one of the reasons why the KTM just feels better to ride at high speed and feels much better in every other regard. Apart from that, I told you about the fuel efficiency numbers, I told you about the engine, and that's how they ride. While the KTM feels much more solid and stable and impressive, the Apache also feels light and playful on its feet. In terms of comfort, both have really good comfort on offer. The seat, of course, on the KTM could have been better, it's on the harder side, and the seat on the Apache also has ventilation, but that's an option extra that was not on our bike. At the same time, both these bikes have very compliant ride qualities when it comes to the engine, and they're not really that harsh. In fact, the test bike, the KTM, which is personally my bike, is running on full rebound and compression and preload at the front and at the back. It actually feels much better if you go up the preload, so that makes a lot of sense. because of the heavier weight that I possess, and still makes the bike compliant for our roads, makes it fantastic bike to have. While the Apache also in its stock setup feels comfortable enough and good enough, and already light on its feet and fun to ride aspect is, that playful nature is higher in the Apache, while the playful nature in the KTM comes with both the engine and the suspension chassis together. While the chassis part is much more playful in the Apache, a test ride back to back will also tell you that, and that's what we've also seen while riding them back to back for almost 500 kilometers plus. So that's what the bike is all about, and that's how they ride, that's the fuel efficiency numbers, that's the performance numbers, and that's how they feel. The pricing of course is higher on the KTM. The Apache is much more affordable, but when you put in the adjustable suspension, the adjustable suspension at the front and at the back, you choose the right color, you get the quick shifter and all of that, the pricing gets very close to the Apache, the KTM Duke 390, and that's where the KTM with its more features and much more performance, and the way it delivers that horsepower and torque, and the way it is so similar to the first gen, it just makes it a tempting buy immediately. As an owner, I can tell you, and as a person who's tested in all the three generations, this KTM just feels so right, and it wins this test. And like I told you earlier, the KTM 390 is not entirely comparable to the Apache RTR 310. The KTM Duke 250 does that, but the pricing comes very close when you add all the options on the Apache, and most enthusiasts will choose that as well. Try to choose that, but when you see that the KTM is just a better bike in every area, and the kind of response and design and features list it has, it just feels much better packaged together, and the pricing is right, and slight other aspects are also better on the KTM when it comes to riding, and that is why it wins this test. We'll try and compare the RTR 310 with the KTM Duke 250 also, and tell you what that is like. Right now, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. Follow us on social media and website for everyday updates. Until then, goodbye.